Hi there. This is not working. Let me try it again. Okay. Now it is. Hi there. My name is Beth Green, otherwise known as Confused or Granny Rocks. So, anyway, I have a very exciting show for you tonight. And this is Lighting the Way with Beth Green and Friends. And friends will be coming on with us in a little while because I have some things that I would really like to share with you before they come on, a kind of an overall view. So, what I'm excited about is that tonight I want to lay out in a more, let's say, thorough way what it is that we're talking about here on Lighting the Way, what we should be doing, what we think we should be doing in order to move forward. There's been a lot of activity in the last week since the last time I saw you guys on Lighting the Way. And there were demonstrations all over the country. There are all kinds of people are saying how many numbers. So I'm not going to tell you how many numbers because I don't know how many there were, but there was a lot of people. And they were all over the country and also outside the country. And that's very exciting. And it feels like it's now time to take the next step. And people are looking for the next step. What is it? And this is what I want to talk about tonight and what I would like to discuss with our panel when I bring them on. So I'm going to read something to you, which is what I wrote for the show. The topic and the little blurb, not the whole blurb, but the little blurb introduction to the show. And I think that will sort of set the tone. It won't take but a minute. The topic tonight is Defy, Envision, Mobilize. Blueprint for a movement. After the rallies of April 5th, it is abundantly clear that people are angry about the administration and what it's doing. We know what administration we're talking about. Now we have got to get clear. We have got to get clear about how this assault is happening, what led up to it, how it could be happening, the future we want, and how to get there. We need a people's movement that emphasizes resistance, but also proposes a positive vision for the future and a roadmap that empowers us to get there. We have some answers, not all. Join us tonight and join our movement. We are going to be talking about probably doing a webinar at some point where if you're interested in what we're doing, you can join us and we can talk about it. Yeah, Todd says there is an estimated 3 million participants. I've read all kinds of figures all around this. So I don't even want to say because people exaggerate. And I mean, somebody said, oh yeah, there were 4,000 people in Corvallis and James thought there were 300 or 400. But I'm not saying it wasn't 3 million. I don't care. It was a lot of people, guys. It was a lot of people. And it was coast to coast and everywhere in between. So I came up with these 3 bullet points about where we are and what we need to be doing from now. And that is, here it is, Defy, Envision, and Mobilize, a blueprint for a movement. So we have a lot of defiance, and that's fantastic. That is, without that, there's nothing. Without a real grassroots movement, we have nothing to build on. So we have the defiance. We don't like what the Trump administration is doing. And there were more very shady things that happened just today. But beyond that, we have to envision. We have to envision the society that we want to work towards. Otherwise, we just get stuck in defiance. That is not a solution. Just can't always have rallies that say, stop Trump, stop this, stop that, because it's not giving us anything to mobilize around. And, that is extremely important. In our last show, I talked about how to talk to a supporter of the other side. And I said, stop thinking of them by those labels. Talk to people. And so, what are we going to talk to people around? What are we talking about? What do we stand for? What do we want people to join with us about? See, a lot of people think that what we need to do is compromise. Oh, we'll give a take and we'll give them an arm and they'll take a leg. And that is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about getting to the bottom of what is really bothering people and putting out a program that actually addresses the issue directly and thoroughly, and asking people to join that movement. And so that is what envisioning is about, envisioning the future that we're fighting for. And the third part of that was, what was it? Mobilize. And that's really interesting because there are a lot of things that we can do to mobilize. What mobilization is about power. We have to have the energy there of resistance. We have to have a vision to mobilize around, and then we have to have the power to change what's wrong. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about what we have to stop, what we have to replace it with, and how we are going to get to that power. I think most of us who are even slightly aware are aware of the fact that the current administration is breaking laws, is corrupt, and so on. And I think we can all agree on that, those of us who are opposed to the administration. And in fact, today I heard quite a bit of discussion about the fact that the Trump tariff thing may not have been as accidental as it looked. Because if you're not aware, Trump put all these massive tariffs on everybody, and then the stock market tanked. And today he reversed all of them except on China. And the stock market started to go up again. And people said, maybe we should sell our stocks before Trump really does that. So they sold high. And some people are saying that now they're short selling. So they are manipulating the market. They knew that Trump was going to change it today. And so now they bought however they do that short selling on Wall Street. I can't remember how they do it, but it's slick. You're assuming that you'll be able to buy it for less than this or sell it for more. I can't believe that I forgot this. Believe me, I did know this. Anyway, the whole point of it is it's very corrupt. It's all illegal. You're not supposed to use insider information. And this is what the bottom line is. They're being accused of insider trading. Now, is that true? I don't know. But I do know this, that I wouldn't be surprised if it was. Now, why wouldn't I be surprised? And that's really the point of this part of our show tonight. We have to take a look at why we are in this situation and what exactly we are defying. Several weeks ago, maybe it was more than a month, I talked about capitalism and how it operates. It's very simple in a way, and I'm going to put it in the simplest terms possible. You work for somebody, they sell what you produce, and they don't give you the total value of what you've produced. If they did, there would be no profit for them, right? So let's say you work for a shoemaker, you make shoes. If the shoemaker company paid you what was your shoes were worth, the ones that you produced, well, guess what? There would be no profit, and nobody's going to do that. They make, they're doing these companies because they want to make profit. So, without getting too technical about how that operates, and I am so embarrassed that I can't remember about the short sale, but somebody I'm sure will slap me around at another time. Um, anyway, so that's it. The surplus value of what you produce. We already have a sign of support on YouTube. Yes, from Jeffrey. Thank you, Jeffrey. We are simultaneously on YouTube, on my public page, Beth Green, the music of the message, and my personal page, but I don't get any comments from the personal page. So if you write to me on the personal page during the show, I won't see it. So thank you, Jeffrey. Okay, so now once we understand that it's the difference between the value of what we produce and what we're getting for it, it is patently obvious. You don't have to be an economist to realize that if you call that exploitation, then capitalism is all exploitative, meaning we're always getting paid less than the value of what we're producing, or the owners, the CEOs, the capitalists, they wouldn't be making any money. Well, it so happens that this, of course, has been going on since the beginning of capitalism. And then you have additional things like, monopolies and unfair trading and all kinds of things that also happen. Um, oh, James just said shorting involves borrowing a security, which is like something on the stock exchange, selling it on the open market, and then repurchasing it later at a lower price to return to the lender. Essentially, a short seller is betting that the security price will go down. There it is. And Jeffrey says the shoemaker's children have no shoes. That is very cute. And he said, you're welcome. Thank you, James. Okay. So it's a form of market manipulation. Okay. So now we know this is true. Now that has always been the case. Now, in order for this to become really extreme, what has to happen is the productivity of the worker has to increase. Let's say we start out and we're making our shoes by hand and it takes 3 days to make a shoe. I'm just making that up. As you see, I make things up when I have to. Okay, so it takes you 3 days to make the shoe, and then the owner is going to sell it for a certain price. And you have to get paid for 3 days. Now, supposing you have more and more machinery and technology, and now it takes you a day to make the shoe. If you're charging the same amount for the shoe and you're getting paid for 1 day's labor, you're getting paid a third of the value. If you now have the shoes produced by mega machinery and it takes 30 seconds and you're still paying the same person the same amount of money, and now they're producing hundreds of shoes every couple of days. So what happens is the owner, the capitalist, is making more and more and more profit, and you're sitting there and you aren't getting any more money, even though you're producing more. So what's happening is when you look at productivity of the American workers, and they have this all graphed out very nicely. I didn't make this up. Honest to God, this I did not make up. And it shows you that till about 1980 approximately, productivity and wages went up at the same pace. And then around 1980, productivity was going up and wages did not go up. So what does that mean? That means that the owner is making more and more and more and more money off you. And when you add to that, that the cost of living goes up and that wages have been stagnant and that we don't eat that I think they said that 40% of the American people don't have enough money to support themselves on one job. So you see what the problem is. What's happening is the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. And that is all of us, all the rest of us. Now you say, well, I don't know. Is that true? Yeah, it's true. Income inequality keeps growing at mega rates. CEO pay is growing at mega rates. So now you're saying, well, what does this have to do with the situation we're in? What are you talking about? Well, I'll tell you what it has to do with the situation we're in. That extra money that is going to the top is giving not only economic power, but political power to the people on top, because they have the money to make the decisions, to do those backroom deals, to buy the elections. And now, once the Supreme Court gave people and corporations the right to give these astronomical amounts of money in the political arena, all of a sudden we have less and less democracy. Now, you see what the issue is. We have less democracy and we have more profit. Less democracy because we're losing power, guys. And if you don't think we're losing power, take a look at what is happening in our nation today. The president, Doge, all of those people are making decisions that are completely bad for the rest of us. But we are struggling to fight them because they've already grabbed so many levers of power, including the Supreme Court. So now think about that. What is the bottom line to all of this? The government, if you're not going to get rid of capitalism altogether, because remember, capitalism is based on people profiting off of labor and profiting more and more and more and more and more and more as they keep the cost of labor down. Well, what do? They discourage unionization. They keep us separated. They keep us fighting each other, making us, a bunch of fools. And as that is happening, we are losing power. We are getting disempowered. And we have lost control of our country. That's what's showing up. But it didn't start with Trump. It started back in the early 80s. Did you ask for the thing, whoever you supported in the election, did you think we were going to be doing these kind of things? No. Everybody says, well, I didn't expect this and I didn't expect that. Well, these oligarchs, these billionaires, they are organizing the government to enrich themselves. So what is now happening is that the government, I'm going to go back. You guys remember the Great Depression, right? Before the Great Depression, it was kind of like this. Capitalism was unregulated. They could do anything they wanted, and it was pretty bad. And then what happened was we started to get dire times, and people were in the streets during the Depression. And the smart capitalists said, we better do something because we're going to have a revolution. And there were some people in the Roosevelt administration who said, yes, we need to do something. We need to start to regulate the capitalist system, and we need to use the government to start creating the social programs that we all need in order for our survival. And see, that's where it all started, right? Social Security and right to, and the people started unionizing, and there was help. There was help. There was a social contract that if we kept working, that we would get some of our needs met. That was the New Deal. Now, what is happening, has been happening for 30, 40 years, is they are trying to undo the New Deal. They're trying to take away the whole social safety net that we got in order to prevent revolution in the 1930s. That is what's happening. And instead of using the government to help people, to do what is for the common good. And I want to talk about this in a minute. They're starting to use the government directly to make money for people. And that example of the short selling, that's just one example. It is, this government is so corrupt. We have a president who's selling Bibles and cryptocurrency, and I mean, they're shameless. They're out there making money. We had Elon Musk making billions of dollars. And what is being dismantled is not the government. It is the government that takes care of our needs. It is the New Deal. And this has been a long time coming. And slowly it's been chipped away. And now they're trying to take away everything: Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, environmental regulations. This was capitalism regulated. That is, people said, wait a minute, we have to put some guardrails on capitalism. Otherwise, it's just going to keep, just going overboard. And they're going to be making trillions of dollars soon. And we're not making enough money to buy the goods that we're producing, which is another big issue that Henry Ford came up with. He said, in the early 20th century, he said, I've got to pay my workers a decent wage, even though he was actually an anti-Semite and I believe a Nazi and a horrible man. He knew that his workers had to buy his cars because they were mass producing cars. So he said, we've got to pay them a decent wage. And the wage they were getting was, I just heard, was approximately $21 an hour, which is not the minimum wage today, as it happens. So you see what's happening is there was a social contract that was created that the government would take care of the common good while capitalism was making all this money. And it was making all this money hand over foot in these last decades. So where does that leave us? That leaves us with a government that is trying to make everything be about money. Like, the post office should be privatized. Everything should be privatized. The U.S. government is now bailing out the Medicare Advantage plans, which are private instead of Medicare. And they're attacking Medicaid, which is public. So if you look at it with a clear eye, you can see that they are unraveling everything that we are doing for the highest good. I mean, even stopping projects that are helping the infrastructure. That is what has happened. And the Trump administration is just the most recent and the most blatant example of them stomping on our rights, our constitutional rights, and all of that, and trying to make the government be an agent for making money. Now, isn't that true? Not for us making money, for them making money. That's what the oligarchy is doing. So now we say, okay, what are we going to do about this? And that is where we come down to our new Declaration of Independence. Our new Declaration of Independence says there are things that we need. This is our vision. And what we're saying is the purpose of the economy and the society is to take care of the needs of people and the earth. They're gutting environmental regulations. It's insane. Free, clean water. I mean, it's all of it. They'll poison us. They don't care as long as it turns into income for somebody. And so we are going to try to turn all of that around. Our vision is that we actually create an economy and a society that meets the needs of people on the earth. Can we have free enterprise within that? Yes. But can we have these obscene income inequality? No. Because when we do, we are disempowered. We don't have the power to fight the oligarchy with all of their money, but we still have it if we mobilize. So I know I spent a lot of time on trying to explain what's happening in our country, and I haven't spent very much time on the new Declaration of Independence, but you'll see if you look at it, we're specific proposals. We're talking about single payer health care. We're talking about workers being on the boards of directors of corporations. We're talking about taxing the rich. We're talking about overturning Citizens United that allows any amount of money to be given to anybody. And this is what we need to do. We need to take our government back from money being the focus, not our money, but somebody else's money, and give it back to us as the social contract among all of us to care for one another. And that would do so much because people would have much less anxiety and more calm, and they would be working fewer jobs. And in fact, with AI coming along and more technology, we are going to have shorter and shorter work weeks because it doesn't take that long to make that pair of shoes. And that's a great thing. Let's have some time. Let's have a time to go exercise and play with our children and have short work weeks. Oh, no, we can't do that because, if we have short work weeks, people might have enough time to organize and think and read books and get educated, which, of course, our current administration is trying to even destroy our college system and all the grants that are going into the universities in order to do essential research. Well, it's not making enough money for somebody, I guess. So this is what we have to do. And if you read the declaration, which we've got the link in the post, if you read it, you'll see that we have a whole variety of things that we are proposing to make the government work for the people like it's supposed to. So you want to be a capitalist? You want to do fine, but you don't get to gut everything. You don't get to be a monopoly. You don't get to control the media. You don't get to control the schools. You don't get, you see. And so the last point from today is mobilize. And what is mobilize? It has to do with getting the power back. And how do we do that? We do that by forcing the Congress to listen to us. We do that by going on strike. We do that by amassing people in the street. We do that by coming together around a platform that we can unite people around. So we actually can come together and fight. We need a bond. We need something which unites us more than just we're angry at Trump, we don't like him, boo-hoo. Okay, some people love Trump and they didn't care that he was stomping on the rights of people, but their 401k went down. Suddenly they're all upset. I can understand that. I mean, I'm upset too because we don't have a lot, but it's more than that. You have to put it all together. It's not just the stock market route. It's all of the ways that this administration and this system have been for decades disempowering us, even when there were Democrats in power. So we have to look past all those divisions and we need to come together around something. And we are suggesting the new Declaration of Independence as a starting point for a platform. Is it going to be a new political party, or is it just that we're going to be pressuring the political parties that we're in? I don't know the answers to that. That really depends on you. But what I am saying is right now, you have everything you need to fight. We have a platform. We have energy of anger, and we know what to do. We need to get people to consider the kind of program that we are talking about. We have a new Declaration of Independence. You can read it. You can sign it. If you don't want to sign it, you can still read it and you can pass it on. Go to every organization that you belong to that is fighting the administration and say, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about this as a program to unite us? Let's see what we can do. Then we can go in numbers to our representatives and saying, this is what we want to fight for. Otherwise, nothing is going to change. It hasn't changed in 40 years. It's just gotten worse. Now, I said in our little blurb that we may be doing a webinar in a while. And the purpose of that webinar would be for people to come on and talk to each other on a Zoom meeting, probably on a Sunday night, and talk about what we can do. What are you doing? How is it going for you? Is the declaration working for you? Do we need to modify it? What do we need to do? But actually get into organizing this mobilization and getting beyond just, oh, I can't stand it. Oh, I'm so upset. So if you're interested in that, I want you to write to me at beth@thestream.info. Our organization, our nonprofit is called The Stream. beth@thestream.info, and let me know that you're interested in doing this. And probably in a couple of weeks, I'm hoping to get on some podcasts. I'm hoping to go and speak. You can try to speak to people about having me come in and talk about this whole thing that we're in, and why we need to mobilize, and that we need to mobilize around a shared vision. And I know I've gone on a long time already tonight, so I'm going to bring on my guests, my friends, and let's see. Here we go. First, we have James Maynard.
Hello.
Todd Benton. Lizzie Treehart. And it looks like we are the only ones tonight. And that's just fine. So, you're the first webinar, right? You're here. Okay. What do you have to say?
I love what you said. I mean, I heard it earlier, but there's something about hearing it again and how comprehensive it makes so much sense. Like the way you describe the economic situation, I think is way more digestible in this discussion than we had previously. I think you wove it together, and I'm fired up. Let's just say that. Fired up and ready to go. So I'm on board for whatever, mobilizing and being part of the mobilization, helping. I'm thinking about like, who can I bring you in front of in addition to what we're already doing with the podcast? I'm not connected to a lot of organizations because I'm just my own business. If I was connected to some business groups, I would, but I'm looking like I was thinking about going to a marketing group. I got invited recently to go to a marketing of like agency owners. So that's a place where I could talk about this idea, like small business owners. This affects them. They want their kids to have education and schooling that is like, supportive, and they want their roads, taken care of, and
right.
the public good.
Right.
We all want benefit of the public good, the common good. Right. That's the public commons,
yes.
That whole concept is what we all need. And the more we can, band together and unite together, the more power that we are going to have together. So I'm grateful that you shared that tonight. And we can use this and transcribe this conversation also as a synopsis of what we're talking about. So we can get it out to people in a written form. We can, turn this into a podcast itself. And, so that is the next step on my agenda, is getting this show, to be distributed through the podcast network on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and so on. So.
Great. I would really appreciate it. And by the way, we are not alone in our thinking. I was watching a video by a group called Patriotic Millionaires, and they've been around for quite a long time. In fact, I interviewed a guy who became part of that back maybe 10 years ago when we had Inter-Revolutionary Radio. Yes. And they were talking about this, and these are people with a lot of money, and they're saying, tax us. They have somewhat different perspective, and then they see things a little bit differently from us, but there is definitely an overlap in the way they're seeing it. So we know that there's other people who see this. And yes. I'm sorry if I was incoherent at any point, but this is a lot of material. That's
No,
good.
no, I didn't feel like
Good.
you were going coherent at all.
Oh, good, because there's a lot. I mean, there are a lot of pieces that I was trying to pull together so that it would all fit. And this morning I came up with the phrase Defy, Envision, Mobilize. Because I kept thinking, okay, what can I say? What is what are we telling people is the next step? Well, that is the next step. And there's no way that you can listen to this program and say, well, I don't know what to do,
Mhm.
right? This is what you can do. And again, if you're interested, I'm sure you'd be interested in the webinar if we do one, and gather people together. We want other people. We
Yes,
want people who have other resources and are in contact with everybody. I don't understand why we can't align with Our Revolution or Indivisible or any of these organizations.
correct, correct. Yep.
And I think we should go to the local chapters of these things and see if we can get, because they don't have a coherent program or platform that I'm aware of.
I
So
agree.
Bernie comes the closest with certain things, but he isn't doing this either. So I'm not criticizing Bernie. I'm just saying there's a hole, and we're trying to fill it as best we can. And we need the talents of everybody out there. What you know, who you know, the gifts you have. You can even make a contribution so that we can advertise our programs. So thank you, Todd. I'm very excited to hear that. Yes, James.
Yes, having grown up during the 50s and 60s, having come of age in what felt to be a democracy, uh, I need to take the posture now. I'm not going to stand by and see democracy destroyed, not on my watch, not on our watch. And you have outlined in the of the new Declaration of Independence a platform that we can advocate for. You know,
Mhm.
universal health care, getting money out of the political process of elections so that we can have conscientious people reflecting the will of the people and various other things that are there. These are things we can advocate for as a platform, and people can add to those things with the underlying message meet our needs. Let's meet all the needs of all the people
And the earth.
and the earth.
And
Yep.
we're robbing from the earth now. They're going to open everything up to logging. It's anyway. I'm trying not to get upset. I want to stay focused, and I want to stay positive, and I want to stay in action.
Yes.
Great, Lizzie. Can't hear
Can't
you.
hear you.
Okay, so have you tried pulling out the headphones? Oh, did you?
Oh, um, I have no idea. Everything was the same as anyway. Um, I feel emboldened. I feel the information was very useful. I need to go back because I was having a reaction during parts of it. I don't know what that was about, but I'll just go back and listen to it again so I can get these facts down. But yes, it has been going on a long time. And I love how you're calling it the administration. You're not talking about just number 47. Because I also recently read something from the daughter of MLK and his wife to don't refer to a person at Trump as Trump. You know, number four, don't use his name. It's the Republican administration or the administration or whatever. Um,
Hmm.
it makes me emboldened that, I've been making phone calls. I want to make some more and be like, okay, don't allow our Congress people, even Democrats, to do this stock market thing. That is illegal. And we have been letting it happen for decades.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Why? Why have we been allowing that? It's time for us to put a stop to that, for one thing. And um, I'm so excited too because I'm in a jury duty now. I'm on a juror, and this is the first time. And I just feel like this is such a privilege.
Mm.
I don't want us to lose this.
Mm-hmm.
And I want, not that I want somebody to go on trial, but to be able to have that and
Yeah.
people, and to go through the process of how they vet the jurors so that, it can be as unbiased as possible.
Yeah.
And, to be talking to people, and even though they might be like, because I talked about the new Declaration of Independence and kind of got laughed at, but he signed it.
A guy on the jury with you?
He's not on the jury with me, but
Oh,
there's hundreds of people around,
right.
and so I'm kind of all over the place. But I just feel
That's great.
excited. I feel it's like, yes, we need to we're doing something. It's like what Cory
Booker.
was saying. Just get out and talk to your Congress people, and it's like people are saying the same things as far as what you're saying. Plus more. It just feels like there is some cohesiveness coming together. And what you're saying as far as the history, if everybody understood this, I think this is powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes. What is missing is the program.
Yes.
People are seeing the problem, but they're not seeing the cause of the problem. They're thinking the cause of the problem is this administration. And they,
Or immigrants, if they supported this administration,
right.
or
Right.
like whatever the boogeymen are that are
The
causing
DEI
you.
or whatever
Yeah.
nonsense they have going.
Yeah.
And I agree. So they're not seeing the real underlying causes, the systemic causes, and they are not proposing a program that would really give us back our country and give us back the power to use the government for our good,
Yes.
which is what it's supposed to be for.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes along with our philosophy about what the purpose of the society and the economy is. Yes, Lizzie.
Yes. Because I also want to say, when I was at the march last weekend, talking to people about it, it was like, talking about the new Declaration of Independence, and, the purpose of government is to meet the needs of people. And, let's include the earth. And some people were like, their brains were like, what? And you could see some wheels turning. And some people were like, blowing it off. But it's like, no, that's what government really is supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So
That's right. Because we say that the society and the economy are for that purpose. That's the only reason we have a society. That's the only reason we have an economy. And the government is the agent of all of us to get those needs met. We need a government to fix the potholes. We need the government to have the measles vaccine. We need the government to help us in disasters. We need the government to take on climate change. We need some unified organ that can actually affect these things. And so I'm so glad. So even though people might look at you like you're crazy at first, that doesn't mean that they don't get it. That if you keep, so it opens somebody's mind.
right.
And it will, the more people hear it, the more obvious it will become.
Right. Right. And it's like, poking holes into subconscious.
Yes.
Right.
And that we have the right to that. That it is our money. It is, we produce all the goods and services. It's our money. And as we get more and more into automation and we need less labor, we need to get the income without having to do all that work. Why? Because it's still the product of our collective labor. Right?
Yep.
Right.
So this is great. So I think we better bring this to an end. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for sitting through. You could fast forward, those of you who watch
We'll
it.
remove it. I'll remove it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll edit it. Yeah.
Oh, you mean right on YouTube?
Well, I could do that too. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, and that'll be great. And let's do it. Let's do it. Defy the status quo that's been going on for decades. Envision what we want and what's worth fighting for, and mobilize to get the power to make it happen, because they can't do anything if we fight them. They have to have us. They can have the army and they can have the police, but if the people in the army and the police say no, they have nothing. So join us again, and don't forget to write to me, Beth at thestream.info, if you would like more information about this upcoming webinar whenever we do it. And write to us and let us know your thoughts, your feelings, and be with us next week, Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time.